act accordingly as to what the surroundings are telling you?
Right. I learnt from the one exorcism I told you where I went in with the Bible and quoted certain passages, and it was flung up in the air. And I won't go all into that. It was really eerie, really eerie. So I thought, right, I've got to change my tactics so that you don't give them any idea, if they're nasty. Which I want to say, there's a lot of nasty stuff around now, and I do see it on certain people. I want to add, but that's another story. So to go back to that question, I was called in, I won't say where, by social services because this battered wives' home was haunted and it was scaring the children to death. And one had run out. It very, very sinister. Mops would be thrown in the air, etc. So I went in. I went through all the rooms and I just sat and picked up the frequency of this ghost, and I spoke with it and took my time, and then went through a method of, it's time that you went, you've got family over the other side, or you've got an animal. You have to go through everything, because some people, if they haven't got any family, an animal or something that was their favorite, and then I would say, I'm going to wait with you, and someone from the other side is going to come over and go with them. And that technique worked, 9 out of 10 times. So yeah.
That's fascinating. So a lot of people then are asking how Princess Diana came on your radar.
Right. Well, that started, I won't mention the name because it's not fair, but one of my relatives was in a West End play. And because she was a little girl at the time, Princess Diana came to shake hands with all the cast. I mean, I've got photos of this actually. And that was the first connection. Then after that, I was doing a lot of shows in London, maybe some of the first psychic events that was going. And I came into contact with her again. And then I was asked to see her. I won't say where, but it was in a posh area of London at the back of a shop. And I did a reading for her there. I also picked up, I warned her about having a photo taken in a gym. I could see a photographer trying to get, distasteful photos of her while she was in the gym. And I warned her about that. And that did come to pass in the 1990s. That did. So after that, it'd mainly be telephone readings after that. And as I'm not being sarcastic with this, but as a lot of people of higher status, they don't always, I'm not saying it's deliberate, but they don't always think you've got a family life, and the phone could ring any hours of the morning, etc. But that's initially how it all came to pass.
So when you came to meet such a famous woman, then was she down to earth? What was her energy like? What was her spirit like?
I thought it was lovely. I really thought it was lovely. I felt with her, and I could say this because, and I'm not trying to plug this book because it's going to have more add-ons to it, because I had the spirit of Marilyn Monroe with me for about 18 months. That's another long story. But Marilyn had got this certain energy, and Princess Diana had got a very similar energy as well. And she could be very sad. With some of the readings as I went on, she could also be a bit naughty, a bit manipulative with certain things. I mean, I don't want to give the readings away because I always been so confidential with people, even though they've passed on. I'm not going to betray them. And I warned where I could with certain things. And she knew that Charles didn't love her. And she did, one thing I will say, she did say that the Queen Mother pushed him into marrying her because they wanted a virgin. And, I can't argue with that. I can only tell you, what I was told. And, but as time went on, she had a lot of affairs and things herself as well. I'm not condemning her. It's got to be awful being in a marriage when you know that the person doesn't love you. And, that's all I can really say with that. But she was nice. She'd got nice energy. Changed a little bit towards the end, I will say that. But I have found that with a lot of people, energy changes not far before they pass over.
Which leads to several questions that have come in. You've had dozens of questions come in, and several of them are centered around her prediction of her own death and whether she was herself psychic and knew it was coming. What did you pick up on any of that?
I'd say that she was psychic because she could pick up on things. She could, and she was very sensitive. And she had been back to me in spirit since she's passed over, though. But I mean, that's another story. So yeah, I would say so. Plus, of course, there was other people that was giving her false information, scaring her as well. And she wasn't wrong that she was going to pass over in a car, but it doesn't mean it was planned.
Wow, this is heavy, isn't it?
It's heavy stuff. I always seem to, I think I was put here for all the heavy stuff. I swear, that's where I was.
So did she indicate to you or ask you about her fate?
I would never have said that. Well, the point was, let me just jump a little bit further. The point was, I dreamt about what happened to her, but a good 6 or 7 months prior, my husband got really sick again, and I couldn't take her reading to do anything because I was too busy visiting hospitals, looking after my kids and everything else. I had time for nothing. So I wasn't around for that time. And I think towards the end, I don't know if she would have listened anyway, but I don't think she needed to because she already knew that she was going to die in a car crash.
Question from Kaza then. How many readings did you do for Diana, and how long did you know her for?
Oh my goodness. From about, just let me have a look, when from about 1992 up to 6 months before she died. And I just want to say another thing. Where the link between, I feel, her and Marilyn Monroe, they were both the same age when they died as well. Just going to have a little drink of water, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it. I'll read the next question. So Terence wants to know if you ever were able to ascertain anything about Princess Diana's past lives.
I have, because I can pick that up. I mean, when I was working as a qualified hypnotherapist, I can do that with hypnotherapy. Even though I'm retired, I'm not lost my talent for that. But I can actually pick up by looking at a person, etc. I can tune in. It's only a frequency. It's not that special to me, it's just a frequency. So, so yes, in a past life with Diana, she'd just been a ordinary person. You see, this is the thing. People think because you've been a princess in one life, you perhaps have been in lots of other lifetimes, but not necessarily. But I only went back to one life with her.
So I know you've touched on this before, but Emma is putting it more direct to you. With Princess Diana, do you think she was killed on purpose?
Initially, I did. Initially. But after she'd come back to me in spirit, since she'd passed over, it wasn't. It was accident. It's I can't remember the car. I can't from my dream, but there was a car there. But when they was going in the tunnel, I don't get that the chauffeur was drunk though. I do not get that. I don't feel that he was. But I could see, sorry, my voice is a bit croaky, but I could see him clip a car, and I think that's what sent him off track. And then from there, and at the speed that was going at, but Dodie was telling him to put his foot down, so that didn't help either, did it? So. No, I don't think she was murdered. As I say, I did initially, but after coming back and the different things she's told me since she came back, no, I just think it was a very bad accident. I think what made us all suspicious was the premonition that she had that she was going to die.
Indeed, that's what made me suspicious, because in the book, Princess Diana, in her own words, she says it's going to be Charles behind it, and they're going to make it look like a car crash. I mean, would you put that down just to synchronicity, to chance that she?
Yeah, I honestly do, because believe you me, if I'm sure he wouldn't, but if any of them wanted to bump you off, so to speak, they could find another way, not make it as glamorous in Paris. And no, that's she was just psyching in on her own death, and she knew it had been a car accident.
All right, so we've got a few people asking whether Diana was pregnant.
Right. I don't think she was. And the reason I don't think she was is because a lot of people won't like this, and this is why I've not sort of brought this out really before. And that was because she wouldn't have married Dodie. She wouldn't have married him. He did propose to her, but she refused because she'd not been divorced very long. I think she wanted, to have a free hand, but that was all the press again, photos everywhere, etc. And I think Dodie's dad was at the back of it, trying to get his son married off to her, because he'd got his own gripes with the establishment and the royal family, or one or two of the members. I'm not saying that he was behind the car crashing. I'm not saying that, but he just wanted Dodie to marry Diana because that would have been more prestige for him, I suppose. I'm not going to blame the guy for that. He'd have been proud of if that had happened with the son. And had Diana have lived and married him, it wouldn't have lashed. She wouldn't have gone there. It was a good mate, a good friend, but it doesn't mean you want to marry someone just because you date them, does it?
No. Next question: is there a curse on the title Princess of Wales?
That is highly possible, because I've dealt in a lot of a lot of family curses, which is pretty rough, really, that we can go back X amount of generations and somebody that did something wrong, that's, the curse that goes on to the next member, etc., etc. I think so, but the same as there was with the Kennedys.
This is from Juanita. Do you still have contact with her spirit? And does she know about her children?
She's not been through for a year or two, but she does know about the children because on one of the second visits, again, it's a date because it's so many years ago, she came through and she told me she was worried about her boys because they were taking drugs. And this was so incredible. And I thought, to prove this, there was a lady reporter that I knew, and I rang her and I explained exactly what had got through. I said, please just document that so I've said it. Well, within about a month, it came out about the drugs, and it was only very young, young teenagers, I think, at the time. But yes, she came through with that. I mean, she's the one that told me she wouldn't have married Dodie, even though he did propose. She's been through with a few things, but I've not seen her 2 or 3 years, So hopefully she's now moved on and doesn't need to have any more connection with this earth, this reality. I mean,
So you've
also,
been,
just let me say this. I after she died, and we could get the tickets to go and visit her house, and where she was buried. I got tickets. My husband took me over, went over, and I went and sat on a bench overlooking the island, and I did my best to tune in. I couldn't get anything, and I was writing for a Mirror Group newspaper at the time. Just once a week, I'd just do like a paranormal or health article. And I remember writing a piece about this, that I just didn't feel she was there. I felt she's in the family vaults or their cemetery, whatever. And many weeks later, I had a gentleman who I'd never seen before came to me for a reading, and after the reading, he said, I just want to tell you, he says, you're right. I read the article and you are right. He said, a friend of mine works there and she isn't on the island. And he says, you're right with that. And then he left, and I thought, well, that was a bit of backup. So that's all I can say to you. I cannot feel her on that island.
so you're being asked now as to whether Prince Harry will lose his royal title at some point in the future.
I have no idea because I am sick and tired of hearing about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They're in America. America can keep them. Just get on with it. I don't know, and I really don't care. I don't think it'll be too many years in the future before royalty's gone here, actually.
Does Charles really have cancer?
Now, that's a very, very good point. Now, I can't turn around and say he definitely hasn't, but that's a question I've asked myself. There's something that just isn't right, but whether it's I'm not picking up the cancer, I don't know. But so to be very honest, and I am honest, I don't really know, but I do feel there's something's off. Something's just not right with a few of the royals at the moment.
Question from Emma, wanting to know, do you think Maddie McCann's parents were involved in the disappearance in some way, as they have never truly looked that upset when they were being interviewed, etc.?
Right. Now, you tell me when you want me to go into the Maddie McCann stuff. I am not going to accuse anybody. I haven't got the right to do that, but I can tell you all what Maddie came to me in a dream, and Maddie came to me last night, and there's been a lot of activity, psychic activity in my home. Well, there always is. There's always somebody coming through. So, but do you want me to start talking about Maddie
Yes,
now?
please. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Right. Well, let me start at the beginning. After Madeline had been reported missing, because I was living in Leicestershire at the time, and they was from Leicestershire. They were from a village not too far away from where I lived. And one night I had a dream, really, really strange dream. Now, Madeline came to me, and she was dressed odd. She didn't speak, but let me explain. She stood in front of me. She was wearing like a square neck top dress in a navy, too old for a little girl. It had got like 3/4 sleeves, and it went right down to her feet, like a long dress, but very, very odd. And this really puzzled me. And she stood in the middle of two trees that came down like this. And I could see to the right-hand side of her, I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. There was like a little churchyard, graves. I was seeing that. And then I woke up, and it really disturbed me. And I said to my husband the next morning, I said, I wish she could have told me where this was. I said, it's just odd. And he said, well, maybe it's because she's a little girl and weren't able to put it into words. Now, when I explain about last night, this might make a bit of sense. So that was that. Now, I did, there was a site that you could let the police know or whatever. And I did put, I'd had this dream that it was a psychic lady. I didn't care if they thought it was crackers, because you get used to that anyway. And I said, if I get any more, I will come back to you. Well, I didn't. And it haunted me for years, until about 2 years ago. And I was thinking about it again. And I thought, that strange dress could have been a man's t-shirt, because square neck, the sleeves would have been short for a guy, and it would have come down to her feet. And I thought, yeah, that's a t-shirt. She's wearing a man's t-shirt. So that was that. And I've never really tuned in to the McCanns. You know, I mean, I'm not going to judge. That's not my job. However, last night, right, I did explain to you that I'm absolutely useless with computers, and with us changing the link, I'm really stressed